I don't appreciate that. I prefer low expectations. So I know a lot of us end up getting like nicknames as kids, right? Like, Booger Factory or Mistake. What if your parents were honest? But my nickname was actually Dad growing up. I had me and my dad called each other Dad. So I had this issue when I was a child. I like to say dad, 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 dad for endless amounts of time. Just until it pissed off my dad. And because my dad's friends really enjoyed pissing off my dad, they would go, hey, dad, 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 dad. And I would start like the Energizer Bunny going and going and going. And at the time, I never really thought about it, but it's kind of weird growing up with a nickname like Dad, right? Like, when your cousin introduces you and they're like, this is my cousin Dad. I had a buddy after high school once be like, this is my Uncle Dad, or your Uncle Dad. I don't know. It's kind of awkward. But also when you go places and some kid yells out Dad and you look over at the kid and the dad looks at you and I'm like, hey man, I don't know what to tell you. Her mom made her that way. But it's created some unique experiences over the years. One time I went to Disneyland, it was just a few months ago, and I heard this little girl screaming, Dad! Dad! And I turn and I'm looking, I'm like, who the hell calls me Dad here? And behind me was this guy giving his daughter abandonment issues. I was terrified, thank God. I thought one of my illegitimate children had finally found me. But I was what a great, terrible father, right? Sure, he's giving his kid, he's breaking his kid's sure, he's breaking his kid's hopes and dreams, right? But he's doing that at the happiest place on earth. But my dad was actually a really unique guy. He was a tough guy. He passed away about 4 years ago. But I always hear about people saying, oh, my mom was always offering me backhanded compliments. I'm yeah, that's not so bad. My dad offered me backhanded insults. Where your dad insults you and then kicks you when you're down? Kind of a step below failing, son. Way to lower the bar. Or, that's awful. Don't tell anybody we're related. I was Dad, it's Thanksgiving. They know. But my family is, we say things and we mean things, but we're extra mean. If you get an apology from my sister, it's emotional abuse. It starts off normal, I'm sorry that you're so phonetically challenged that you can't comprehend our conversation due to your lack of diction. Read a book. Comes back around like a boomerang, I watched her make people cry from apologizing. It's literally worse to get the apology than the initial thing she did. That's her laughing. My sister, she's a unique kid, When we were kids, she told my aunt one time, she's you're fat. My little sister, my mom looks over at her, she's that's not very nice. And my sister was that's not very nice that she's fat. Yeah, she chased me around with a hot iron and a knife once. Those are happier times, She's got a gun now. My dad used to say when we were kids, He'd go, I didn't know how to raise a little girl, so I raised all my children like boys. I have 3 sisters. No brothers. So like, obviously their softball teams were all undefeated. They had real good fight records too. But when you grow up with teenage Mexican sisters and you got to use the bathroom, it's a little bit violent. You ever try and use the bathroom with the 13-year-old Mexican girls doing her hair? It's like prison house rules. I got shanked by a toothbrush once. My dad, though, when we were kids, he had a lot of pride in our Mexican heritage. You know, ton of pride in our Mexican heritage. I know for some of you guys, you might think of Mexican heritage something different, like landscaping, agriculture, drug dealing. Don't get me wrong, I have pride in all of that. But, you know, he was super proud of, you know, how resilient, how strong, how industrious the Mexican people were, right? And at 5 years old, my dad was taking me to Mexico for the first time. I don't know if you know this, but at 5 years old, you don't know any race. You're just a child, right? You're just a 5-year-old kid. And so when I'm in the back seat and I'm bouncing around like I just snorted 6 pixie sticks and ate 4 Fun Dips, my dad looks at me and he's like, "What's wrong, son?" And I looked at him and I was like, "Those Mexicans are going to kill me." See, I had built up Mexicans to be one of the most badass things I could think of. And at 5 years old, there was only 3 things that were completely badass, right? It was the Boogeyman, my dad, and the Ninja Turtles. You know how awesome it is to find out at 5 years old you're a Ninja Turtle? I have a different relationship with Mexico now, though. I love going to Mexico, man. You know, for me, it's like I finally get to know what it's like to be white in America, right? So, like, I get to see like white people get pulled over on the side of the road, right? They racially profile you, go through your shit. Give you weird fucking fines. I got pulled over in the U.S. once, and the cop goes, "I don't speak Spanish." I was like, "Me neither." But like, think about how ineffective that is, right? Like, why would you tell somebody in your own language you can't speak Spanish? Like, you could just say, "I don't speak German or Mandarin," get the same effect, right? But, like, what's really funny is, like, when they're speaking, they automatically start slowing it down, right? They're like, "I don't speak Spanish." Like, that's going to help. But then they start adding, like, syllables, right? Like, "I don't speak English." You know how stupid you sound when you say that shit? That's why we make you say it twice. All right, guys, that's my time. Thank you so much.